And I always start with the childhood because you learn how to be who you are from your parents. So what
Mhm.
you're basically saying is that with that father being absent, you were only learning from one parent, which led you into a direction of where you were searching for love from your father
Absolutely.
figure.
Absolutely. And the desperation of that, men bring different things to the table. They bring balance into the home. They bring doors
Hmm.
on the home and protection. And without the doors, anybody can come in and do anything to your family. What is like if a guy wanted to come in and rape your daughters and the only person in the home is her mother, what could she do?
Mm,
You don't realize the psychological fears of not having the protection in the home. It
right.
goes beyond the physical. You don't feel as safe, and that makes you make certain decisions when you don't feel safe. You don't worry about certain, like my baby don't worry about certain things. So
Hmm.
he'll roll right off the bed. He don't worry about whether or not I'm on the edge of the bed, but once he falls and hits himself real hard, he might start paying attention to the fact that he might be getting close to the edge of the bed. And
Right.
so when you grow up in an environment where you have balance, where you
Hmm.
have love, where those
Hmm.
things aren't questioned, you really don't get an understanding of the psyche of somebody who didn't have that. Like, for instance, it was innocent for you to maybe go to church and give your father a Father's Day gift on Father's Day or get up and say something nice about your dad. I
Hmm.
saw it every Father's Day. Sat there without a daddy to acknowledge.
How did you feel during that time?
I felt like, why won't anybody just acknowledge me as at least a daughter in the church? I want to be at least have a father figure.
Wow.
I'm in the church. And you know what people in the church sometimes would say? I don't want her hanging around my daughter. She's a bad influence.
Really?
Hmm. There were people in my community that I looked up to that used to tell me I was fast instead of teaching me how to carry myself. I didn't even know what fast was. And you'll read in my book, I'll share this little portion of my book.
Okay.
Um, when people would tell me that you're not a virgin and stuff like that, I thought because I had been molested or fondled that I wasn't a virgin. I didn't even know what a virgin was, and I was still a virgin. But I
Wow.
went through that ridicule and humiliation for years as a child just because I didn't know. And instead of those people loving me and taking the time to sit down and say, this is how a lady should carry herself in love, instead of judgment and
Judgment.
making me feel
Hmm.
ashamed, then I
Right.
could have grown with love. And they, not just tell me something, oh, your skirt's too short, or you shouldn't have fingernail polish on. Not that kind of stuff. I'm talking about where you treat me like, okay, I see you don't have the parenting that you should have. Let
Let
me
me
embrace
show
you.
you. Right. Right.
And
Why do you
so
feel like people don't do that? Why do you feel like, especially church people, right?
because I think that the church is full of cliques.
Mm.
My grandfather was a pastor. I grew up wanting to say a PK kid because most of the times I was raised by my grandparents. And there are some good people in the church. Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong. I have found some people that live what they talk about, but then there are so many others that ruin the name.
Right.
And the problem is when you're new and you're seeking God, you don't know one from the other.
Hmm.
Because what happens is a lot of times if they have a position or they're giving good donations, then they don't get called on the stuff that they do.
Right.
And so what happens is a vulnerable person will look at them in a position and think they're trustworthy.
Hmm.
And they will go and make themselves vulnerable to them and end up being taken advantage of. And then
Wow.
when it comes down to the kids, I think that sometimes people get so overwhelmed with making their family look like they have it all. My grandpa used to call it the Joneses, that they
Hmm.
never take time to look at the people that don't.